Obviously, most of the newspapers, insofar as people still read newspapers, most of the TV shows in the last month have focused on the impeachment hearings. And we all know that at the end of the day, impeachment or no impeachment, President Trump is not going to be removed in the next year. So the question is, why are we spending so much time on impeachment? And I have felt in the long-term future of America, the most significant thing going on right now is what is going on with immigration policy in the United States. And as long as this impeachment hearing has taken the top of the page in the newspaper, immigration is at the bottom of the page. And I believe one of the primary reasons for keeping immigration before the public is they don't want the public to know what's going on in immigration or what isn't going on in Congress with regard to immigration. At its worst, we allowed over 140,000 people in this country in May. President Trump has been asking for help in this crisis, and he has gotten no or virtually no help from Congress. Nevertheless, things that President Trump has done on its own has reduced that figure, if only temporarily. I mentioned again 145,000 people caught and processed in May, and probably over another 10,000 people not even processed. That number has gone down to around 45,000 in September, and we believe it will be even lower in October. This is largely because of things that President Trump has done on his own. He has negotiated with the Mexican government, to a certain extent under threat of tariffs, to put Mexican troops on the southern border. The Mexican government is patrolling the interior of its country for people trying to work their way north, and President Trump has reached agreements with the triangle countries of Central America, countries of Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras, that they are currently taking people coming from further south who need asylum. President Trump has also began, we wish he was doing more here, but began building a wall, and we are working our way towards adding another 450 miles of the wall by the end of next year. This is a significant improvement of what it should be, but we are still well short of where we want to be. What should Congress be doing, or what should we be focusing on while Congress is spending time debating impeachment? First of all, we have a shortage of detention beds. So when ICE is trying to remove people from this country, there are a lack of beds to place people in. There is no reason why, given the amount of money we are spending here, that should not be taken care of. There have been requests for another 5,000 people in the Border Patrol, and there are still unquestionably people streaming across this border every month who aren't even counted because we are not taking care of them. But there are other things that can be done as well. There is the Trafficking Victims Protection Act. You know, some people talk about children being separated from their children, from their parents. This is something that Congress can solve on their own. Right now, if children try to come here, single children from Mexico and Canada, they are returned to their parents to make their families whole. In a loophole in the law, if children come here from countries other than Canada and Mexico, we are bound to keep them and separate them from their families. Congress should act, and the same law that applies to Mexico and Canada should apply to Venezuela or Honduras or Guatemala. We have no business allowing the current law to continue in which people are coming here while their parents are in another country. We have the Flores settlement, in which right now people have to be released after being detained for 20 days. Given the slowness of our court system, it is not unusual for people to have to be released prior to the time when a hearing takes place. Again, Congress should act and spend time on that rather than continue to spend time on impeachment. We continue to have a problem with sanctuary cities, in which when we want to remove people, even from incarceration type of facilities or from jails, particularly from jails, sanctuary municipalities are not allowing us to remove people, even criminal people. Congress should act, and Congress has not acted, so that we do not allow these sanctuary cities to forbid access to the jails from ICE to remove people from this country. Another thing that should be done is something should be done about the credible fear standard, and when people are allowed in this country and when people are not allowed in this country. But again, Congress has refused to act. I want to point out that we can do all these things without being anti-immigrant. In something that hasn't been noticed in the most recent year, over 800,000 new people were sworn into this country, and President Trump is doing nothing to reduce that figure. As a matter of fact, that 830,000 figure is well over the 700,000 figure of the relatively recent past. President Trump is a friend of legal immigration, but we have to stop being a friend of illegal immigration. In other things that encourage people to come here, Secretary Carson is going to the bat and trying to keep our limited low-income housing stock available for our own citizens and not people who are here illegally. It would be good if Congress stepped up to the plate and said, we're going to put our homeless veterans ahead of people who are in this country illegally. President Trump is also trying to put work requirements in a SNAP program. And let's be honest, if we have a program giving away free food without a work requirement, that is an inducement for people from other countries to come here. Congress should again convene and bring bills to the floor that put a work requirement with the SNAP benefit, and a work requirement with a SNAP benefit, making it a less advantageous welfare program, would stop sending the message for the rest of the world to come in the country. So in summary, there are a variety of things that have to be done and that Congress should be acting on, and that the mainstream media and even the conservative media should be paying attention to, because they're going to affect the future of this country for the next 10 or 20 or 30 years, unlike the impeachment inquiries, which we know are going nowhere, although the impeachment inquiries are keeping other things off the page. We need more detention beds. We have to change the credible fear standard so that less people are able to come in this country without doing something, without having a genuine fear. We have to change the 20 days in the Flores settlement so we're not required to release people in the country. And above all, we have to change the Trafficking Victims Protection Act so that we can remove children from this country and send them back to their parents in Central America. I don't know why, with so many people in this institution purporting to claim that they want families together, we do not amend our current laws and do with other countries what we already do with Mexico and Canada, and that is tell an unaccompanied minor, you belong with your children. We are not going to separate you from your parents. However, Congress is not acting, and I think one of the reasons they're able to get away with not acting on this is because the papers are filled with impeachment, impeachment, impeachment all day long. So in summary, I hope we pay attention to the number of people coming in this country. I hope we congratulate President Trump on the things he was able to do without Congress doing anything. Congratulate him on the reduction of, play with my mind here a little bit, reduction of over 70%, about 75% reduction in the number of people who are processed in this country compared to 4 or 5 months ago. But I also think we have to pay attention to the things that we are not finishing at this time. And I hope the media and the American public does not take its eye off the immigration ball while we focus on the impeachment hearing. And I really hate to say it, but I do believe one of the reasons why some people want to keep impeachment in the news is as long as impeachment dominates the news, we are not talking about Congress's neglect in doing what they should do to secure our border and make sure that the people coming here are people coming here for legal green cards, legal work visas, and eventually being sworn in as legal citizens. Thank you, and I yield the remainder of my time.